What's up, everyone? Welcome to Youthful Conversations. My name is Jeremiah Jett. I am your host of Youthful Conversations. Today, we're gonna be taught. Our topic is navigating youth mental health, and we're gonna have a great conversation between four amazing individuals. It's two other young people, along with we have one other young adult. So I'm gonna do a little introduction about myself. My name is Jeremiah Jett. I am your host. I'm a public speaker, mentor, and also the North Carolina youth lead for GSO Peace Corps. I want to shout out GSO Peace Corps for giving me the studio, the platform to record, and everything else they have provided me. And now we're going to bring up our guests. So up first, we're going to bring in our youngest member, Jordan Wilcox. Will you please come up, give a little introduction about yourself, tell us whatever you feel comfortable with telling us. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm great.
It's good. I'm good. I'm good.
I'm Jordan Wilcox. I've been friends with Jeremiah for about 3 years.
Make sure you speak up into that mic.
I've been friends with Jeremiah for about 3 years. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be on this podcast because I agree with him in his views. Because things about today must change. My Instagram is 6K Jordan. So the number 6K Jordan, and that's it.
It's great to have you on the show. So
Be here.
up next, we're gonna have Kareiah. Will you come in, introduce yourself, tell us whatever you feel comfortable with telling us, and it's great to have you on the show. How you doing? That's good. That's good. I'm doing good. So,
Hi, my name is Kareiah. It's a pleasure to meet you both. And this is my first time meeting Jeremiah, but I can say that I am very excited about this entire thing that you got going on because mental health in itself, and just especially dealing with our age group, is something real near and dear to my heart. So I'm just really excited to be here.
definitely.
I guess you can say technically a senior, but I am a first year in college now. I'm 17, soon to turn 18. Big numbers.
Yep. Yep.
And just enjoying life right now. It's summer.
Well, it's great to have you on the show, and I'm definitely enjoying my summer as well. You know, summer did just start. So up next, we're gonna invite our final but not least guest, Mr. Gray. Will you please come on, introduce yourself, tell us whatever you feel comfortable with. It's great to have you on the show. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Glad to be here with y'all. How y'all doing? I'm Micheal Gray. For the longest time, Jeremiah and Jordan knew me as Mr. Gray because I'm a high school success coach at the Point College Prep Leadership Academy, and I'm also the director of mental wellness for staff and students. So mental health is it's essential. It's one of those things where I've realized the quality of life I've been able to create because of my attention to detail to my mental health.
Yep.
And through whether it's through a weight loss journey, whether it's through striding, making financial strides or collegiate strides, my mental health was always a key factor in attaining everything that I've ever achieved. So yeah, let's give it the attention it deserves. So yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
All right, so we're gonna get into the show. So everyone, you can bring out your phones because I know it's hard to remember everything off the top of your head. I ain't gonna lie, I am a public speaker, but still, I struggle with remember everything off the top of my head too. So we're gonna get into our questions. Everyone got the chance to look at everything and got to make their notes on it. All right, so first up, we gonna ask how prevalent are mental health issues among youth today, and what factors contribute to this trend? Who would like to?
I'll start it.
All right, go ahead.
Firstly, most, like in my opinion, most mental health issues sprout because of social media. It's
Right.
the feeling of fear of missing out because you don't see what's here. Then how you gonna know? You're missing out. It's the fear of missing out, and there's also the little system they have with the scrolling. It's a feeling. Okay, I'm sort of bored. What am I gonna do? So they grab their phone and they just scroll, they scroll, and it bleeds into things of like laziness. You don't want to do anything. You start to get tired. You don't want to do a jack thing. You get depressed, and
Right.
that's because of social media. That's why I think. That's where I think it comes from. The prevalence.
I would agree 100%. I think mental health has been overlooked a lot for youth, at least. I think mental health started being overlooked during COVID. Mental health did take a rise during COVID. I will 100% notice that, but I think it was noticed more for the older counterparts. Like we paid attention to adults' mental health, we paid attention to the elderly's adult mental health, but what about our youth? You know, a lot of people fail to realize that we are the future, and if we aren't sane in the head or our mental health ain't good, what y'all leaving the world up to? Y'all leaving it to some kids who are struggling mentally, who ain't got their head on straight. So with us not paying attention to it, and then when people just bringing it to notice and having conversations about mental health, I think that's what changes the world. And the prevalence, I say it comes from, I would say it definitely comes from over the pandemic, because there was so much that came with it, came from social media and scrolling, like Jordan mentioned, with being cooped up in the house, not being able to talk to many people, not being able to see faces, not being able to interact with others. Like it was so much that came on the kids over just 2-3 years of being shut in the house. Like it's a lot, and I think that's where it started.
I can go next. I just want to start by saying I looked at that question. I was like, "What in the world is prevalence?" That was a big word that I did not know. So I looked it up, and prevalence is the widespread in a particular area or at a particular time. So when you said COVID, that was a big thing. I know for a lot of people that I know personally, COVID messed up their grades. COVID messed up how they communicated with people, their friends, parents, all of that. But I know COVID, that was my prime time. That was the best time for me. But I think if I really had to think about it, I think it's the transition that we go through, especially in school, that kind of messes with our mental health. Because I know changing from I want to say middle school, especially to high school. My 8th grade year was COVID year, so I didn't get my 8th grade prom. I didn't get 8th grade nothing because it was COVID. So as soon as I got to ninth grade, still virtual. Then I get 10th grade, still halfway virtual, but partially going into being in person. And even then, it was a very just depressing time. I'm always at home. I can't go out unless I got on this mask. I got really bad allergies. So that mask on in the hot summer was not it for me. So I think that time, especially with that change, was just a lot for me in particular. And I know a lot of other people that struggle with just that transition and just the impact that it had.
100%. Mr. Gray, I noticed you've been sitting there. You've been definitely thinking. I know I'm ready for your answer.
I think it's so interesting because I'm listening to y'all's perspective as high schoolers and teenagers. And, for y'all, it's like the reality of the turns that your mental health can take became real for y'all during COVID.
Yeah.
And I heard you say like it was a lot of attention on parents and adults because think about it. In the middle of a pandemic, the stability of jobs, of finances, of people's home structures was in jeopardy. Yeah. And as y'all being the kids who get the chance to sit in the house and have the walls of school and the walls of home to be pretty much laid out for you, yes, y'all dealt with the effects 100%. I seen it in the schools. But I realized for the parents, it was about survival. Yeah. It was about what am I going to do to, protect my family's health, to protect my family's well-being, to keep things in motion. I mean, for me, mental health is extremely prevalent, by the way. It affects everybody because everybody has to use their mentality to interact with everybody else. And depending on the condition of that mentality, that affects the type of relationships that we see. And even more for y'all to go through what y'all went through during COVID, imagine how many parents who already probably weren't on top of their mental health at that point in time. Now it's like all the walls have crumbled down and we're able to see the stains on our t-shirts even more. But it's just been one of those things specifically with teens that I've seen. Definitely COVID took away close social interactions. It took away people's ability to connect in person, and it made people very, very comfortable being comfortable. Right. And there's no growth in comfort and convenience. So that speaks to the. I think it just speaks to the emphasis of some of the outliers that we see right now. So super prevalent, affects everybody.
I think I'm You making me think because as a kid, I don't know if y'all agree, but as kids, that's something we overlook. The effect that mental health and everything that happened to the adults. I know for me, when COVID happened, I was in the house chilling. I ain't gonna lie, I barely did schoolwork. I was on the
Mhm.
game, sleeping.
Mhm.
I ain't really care about anything.
When
But
the
Mhm.
cameras turned off, when the
right,
TV turned on.
right. I wasn't even on
Mhm.
camera. I had a little picture up, had a little picture taped on the camera. I wasn't even the camera. And just to hear that, like, it actually affected the adults because adults they put on a little strong coat, make it look like we all right. So the kids
Mhm.
don't freak out because they got to be that safety net. They got to make sure
That's right.
that the kids don't crash and burn because they see mom and dad struggling. So I definitely applaud adults because I mean it's a thing that everyone faces. Mental health is something that we use every single day, something that we face every single day, and it's a new challenge every single day. And
Mhm.
I definitely applaud every single adult out there who managed the way they did to overcome the challenges that came with mental health as well as pandemic and just regular day life as well as taking care of kids. So let's hop into our next question. My phone shut down. Can you discuss the impact of social media on youth mental health and what steps can you take to navigate negative effects? I don't know how to say that word, so y'all gonna have to excuse
Mitigate.
me. Yeah, mitigate.
So I'll break this one too. Like I said earlier, the reason in my eyes, the reason that people's mental health or teens' mental health has become what it's become is because of social media. So a way I believe you can fix that mental health is just trying to put the phone down just for a little bit. I know I'm struggling. Like I have an addiction at this point, but I'm
Hey, it's
trying.
real. It's real. It's real.
I'm
It's
trying
real.
to,
Admittance is the first thing, man.
Right.
At
I'm
first,
trying to, put it down. And like my mom might say, just go outside. I'm trying to step out of my comfort zone. Like Mr. Gray said, if you're too comfortable, you're not going to grow.
Right.
So I'm trying to step out my comfort zone, try to start working. I've began working out, all that stuff. I'm really trying to better myself. And the way I do that for me is putting down my phone. And that's it.
Mhm.
I would agree. I would agree. Definitely. One of the things that I think I should put notice on that me and Mr. Gray picked up on immediately is that like acknowledging it. You can't grow without even knowing the flaw because you're gonna grow in the wrong way. How I'm gonna grow from an addiction and I don't know I have an addiction. So at least acknowledging it, that's the key. Cause you're like, okay, I'm gonna get up here, I'm gonna be honest. I know I have an addiction with my phone. I know I have an addiction to social media. But the key to moving past it and growing from it is firstly acknowledging that I have it. And that's one of the things that I think all youth and even adults should learn that you can't grow without acknowledging your problems. You can't grow without acknowledging the places that you need growth. Because if you start growing and you don't even know the problem, you're gonna grow somewhere you don't even need to be at. You might end
Mhm.
up
hmm
in the sky and you only had to go out the door. So you
Mhm.
gotta definitely know your problems before you start growing. So
I will say, I think social media, I can agree, it's a big issue. Everybody's on it, just about,
yeah.
whether we on Facebook, like the older people,
I
or
don't even use it.
or if we on Instagram and TikTok, like the younger people, everybody is seeing everything. But
Right.
I think at the end of the day, regardless of whether you're on social media or not, your mental health is yours. If you
Right.
looking at these other people with these amazing so-called lives that's showing all these perfect days, they're not showing you their down days because why would they? That's not about
Right.
to get them no views. And if they are showing them down days, then it's over exaggerated to where it's like, oh, pity me. Oh my gosh, let me show you how sad I am so that you can just be like, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And that's not what you need to be focused on. I think me personally, I've always dealt with a confidence thing. Like I've always kind of looked at other people like, hey, what do you think about my outfit? I told my mom when I put this on this morning, I was like, what do you think about my shoes? She think they go with my outfit. She was like, Kareiah, put on whatever you want to put on. And I think when you get on social media, you have to keep that mentality. Like it's not about what these people have on. It's not about what these people are doing. It's not about how their lives are going. Because if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in your confidence and just how amazing that you truly are, then what's the point?
Right. I
Mhm.
100% agree. Confidence is a big part of mental health, and I think that's something that's like real because even people that are like the most extreme confidence on the internet, they probably have the confidence issues that aren't really knowledge. So
Exactly.
I 100% agree.
And even just knowing who you are as a whole. Like
Right.
I grew up in the church, so my grandma's always like, Kareiah, you are a child of God, and if you don't know nothing else, you know that. Period. So I feel
Right.
like if you know at least one little thing about yourself, then you can make it on social media. You can be okay.
Sure, sure. Um, no, to everybody, everything that I've heard is, pretty much spot on. Thinking about social media and being somebody who, I'm 35, so but don't get it twisted. I'm 35, and I still outrun the majority of
You gotta, gotta give the
I
overhead
got a great
respect.
mile
Gotta,
time. I be running marathons and stuff. I be going at it, but
yeah,
but nevertheless, I got a chance to see life before social media, and I got to witness the boom of social media. And being somebody who was on the college campus in 2007, 2009 timeframe, when it was just Facebook was starting out, nobody was on it like that. Um, I can say for a fact the breezeway was packed throughout the semester year round because people had to come and talk to each other. You wanted to have that social interaction. Um, but once I got back to college in 2014, because I attended Winston-Salem State 2 different times, Instagram was out and Twitter was out, and it had turned the breezeway into almost like a ghost town unless somebody put it on social media like, hey, let's all meet here, which was convenient. But at the same time, a lot of our personal life and our downtime was it was sacrificed. And I just want to read a couple of statistics, just that kind of stuck out uh, as far as social media. It says in 2019, the Surgeon General reported that teens who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media face double the risk for mental health issues like depression and anxiety. In 2021, tweens were averaging 5 hours per day, and now it's 8 hours per day. Um, and it also said that excessive social media use uh, can create it can be like almost like a gateway to other addictive habits because the mind doesn't know how to settle itself down. It's always looking to consume something.
right.
That's why I say one of the biggest parts of managing social media has everything to do with um, to me it has everything to do with your management of it, and are you consuming more than you're producing.
Right.
I like to use social media because I'm a grown man and I can't sit on social media just to look and laugh all day. It's good, it's cool to laugh, but how much of life should be laughter? I mean, laughter should come from a genuine place, not from searching for it all day, in my opinion. And social media, what I realize, it we're as human beings, our brains are wired to take the path of least resistance.
Right.
So if I got things going on in my life and I don't want to think about it right now, back in the day, I might write about it. You know what I'm saying? I might read a book. But now I can pick up this device and I can look at any rapper I want. I can look at anybody who's in the entertainment, who's literally paid to entertain me, to keep me,
Right.
not that they're trying to keep me sedated on purpose, but even if you listen to that the Drake and Kendrick Lamar lyrics, when Kendrick was talking to Drake, Kendrick said, "You make music." He said, "I make music that electrifies them," meaning I'm feeling it, I'm giving them a spark. You make music that pacifies them, just like a baby. When the baby's crying,
Yeah.
hey, put that in your mouth.
It's good enough for that
Hush.
moment.
Yeah.
And this is just a big pacifier. This is a small pacifier that I would say for a lot of folks.
100%.
And so mitigating it, like I said, first you gotta be just willing to acknowledge it. And to me, it's so scary because I've seen just how some children will refuse to communicate in person, but go on their social medias and they can talk about everybody and their mama. But when you sit them down and say, "Hey, what was the real issue?" I don't know.
Right.
Like you can't communicate for real. And the one of the things that I also say um, brings a threat is our parents. Look, I work. I'm a success coach. I'm a director of mental wellness. I run. I work out. I got 2 kids. I got a beautiful fiance. who's in the back getting some footage right now. Appreciate her.
Give her a shout out.
But yeah, shout out to Jazz. Shout out to Jazz. But I just think about, bro, like if I don't create space to pour into my children, this is raising a lot of kids. And for like as kids, y'all are looking for fun. Y'all are looking for meaning. Y'all are looking for something worthwhile to pour y'all time into. And deep down, everybody wants to know, am I going in the right direction? And however that weighs on you, this hence why mental health is so important. Your mental health will determine how you interact with the rest of the world, depending on how your life circumstances weigh on you. So if Jordan is going through something, and let's say Jordan's on the fence about how he feels about women. Let's say, I'm trying to talk to a girl, and I might have a little nervousness in me, man. And people don't like to feel insecure. People don't like to feel inadequate. So, but wait a minute, if I can see another guy on social media who has a platform that says, man, all these women is bums and stupid and da-da-da-da-da, and then maybe some of my insecurities get validated in that. Yeah. Then what happens is kids start finding communities of other people who are maybe hurt, lost, bored, miserable, going through a subconscious level of depression, unaware. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Unaware. And then it turns into this guy, he gets me. He gets me. So then you find community, and then you start drifting further and further away from the truth of the matter. And now you're in your own echo chamber of negativity. Yeah. And so I think just increasing self-awareness, and the major way you can increase, just like you said, put the phone down for a little bit. And to speak, I know I'm kind of running, but to speak specifically to just noticing the difference in quality that your life will have if you just take a few days out the week and say, you know what, I'm gonna get me on days where I'm not focused on social media, I'm gonna get some sunlight, I'm gonna get my heart rate up for at least 30 minutes, I'm gonna read something or listen to something that's going to change my perspective. Our perspectives are supposed to be growing. For as long as you live, they're supposed to grow. But in the grand scheme of things, give yourself time to just see what those days look like versus a day when you just sat on the toilet for 2 hours scrolling and your legs fell asleep. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I just think you just look at life like that, and you just look at the difference of days. There's so much more to discover. There's stuff to discover on social media as well. But if you're discovering from the point of a strict consumer, then you're going to turn into whatever they feed you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's important to know.
There's so much stuff that was important that he said, that it's like a few things I want to pull out that I personally picked up on. One of the things you said that I don't think you really dove deep into it was the effect that dopamine has on it. Like I don't want to name names, but they 100% make a play on the 5 pillars of influence. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I don't remember all 5. Okay, so you can't even ask me to name them, but I do know like 2 of them. I think it's entertainment and music. I think in music and entertainment, the same thing. But I think entertainment, they play a major play on entertainment. And just with that, they have been able to control the masses of people, like hundreds of thousands. Like they've been able just to control you based off entertainment. And that dopamine spike that you get from even one swipe, it's like, okay, cool. I liked it. Boom. Oh, nothing. Oh, I got it again. Okay. And you're constantly searching for that next spike of dopamine that will make you feel satisfied and happy, even if it's for like 5 seconds. I think that's such an important thing that we all understand, that dopamine is 100% a real thing and is constantly being played on. And even with dopamine, even back in the day, dopamine was still in effect because it's always been a part of our brains and our head. When they wanted dopamine or they dopamine spike, they was out there hunting. They was out there fighting. They was out there enjoying with communicating with people, going to arenas where they was playing soccer and stuff. Like they actually had to go out and find something. And then when they found it, they received that satisfaction that they deserved that made them happy. So with kids and even adults not being able to understand that we're able to get dopamine and that strong spike of dopamine off of the swipe of our phone for 5 seconds is insane. And I think that's something that we definitely need to pay more attention on, do more research on, because dopamine is very strong and it's a very strong force in our life as well.
100%. You You have cheap dopamine, and you have earned dopamine. Well, I like to call real dopamine, and that cheap dopamine comes from stuff like sugar, come from stuff like processed foods. It comes from it can come from an Instagram like. Um, it can come from you seeing somebody share your opinion and validate your opinion about something negative. It can come from that. But the other type of dopamine, which you were talking about, that came from what I would like to call autonomous living. Like, it's the reason why babies get so excited when they can walk is because they know they're making their life better. They know they can get what they really want. They know that, all right, bro, like, I'm making progress. Like, my 1 year old right now, he will walk up and down steps no matter how at risk his life is,
Right.
because he's just happy that, yo, I'm learning how to do a skill that's helping me. I feel like we adults and young folks alike have to cling to a sense of meaning that I know for me, yeah, because I'm a runner, and the commitment that I've made to running gives me the type of dopamine that allows me that leads to my transcendence more than my degradation. You know what I'm saying? The better I'm able to see a new version of myself forming from intent work, hard work, focused work, not just I'm bored and I just need something to do. Two different types of dopamine. Uh, Start falling in love with that. And like I said, you have to go through the fire to get to it, though. You know what I'm saying? You have to go. It's not just gonna fall in your lap. But the cool thing is, when you are in that state of transcendence, sometimes the biggest blessings fall, and you think. I think back on the mindset that created the person I am now, and I just thank God, because I'm like, bro, I could be thinking totally different, because look at the percentages, man. Like, look at, like, I talked to you and you about the percentages of people in school, where it's like, go to your school and look at the kids who are really trying, who are really putting in that intent work, and then think about the majority, which is why it's so important that y'all are taking steps and stances for to bring attention to this, man, because the percentages are skewed, but that's why the leaders got to do the work. The leaders got to have a voice too. So shout out to y'all.
100%. I definitely agree. It's not easy being it. I like to call my work the path that is least taken. Because what I do ain't easy. There's a lot of times where people see the work that I do and they're like, why does he do that? Why is he on the path that he is on? But I know that the long term gratification that I get, like the lives I see change, the kids that constantly come up to me and be like, when are we gonna have another mentoring session? When are you gonna come back to our school and teach me how to communicate again? Like, that's the stuff that is needed, like that long term gratification. Because that long term gratification is gonna fuel you. It's gonna keep you going. It's like, okay, I gotta do it again. Like, that was great. I gotta keep going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So we was on that topic
I
for,
know.
but it was important. I feel like everyone got what we need to say. Everything that we said was extremely important. But we're gonna hop into our next question. What resources that you have seen are available for young people struggling with mental health issues, and how can they access support?
Hmm.
I'll go first. One of the things I have seen is your friend group. And when I say friend group, I purely mean that strong 3 or 5 people you go to on a regular day basis. Those 3 to 5 people you hang out with on the everyday basis, I 100% believe this. You will become the sum of those 3 to 5 people. Like, you will absolutely start to pick up behaviors, pick up thoughts, pick up beliefs, pick up goals and dreams that they have just because of those 3 to 5 people. So one of the support systems that I lean on heavily is my support system, my village, my friends, my family. Those people keep me going. And I know some people's friends and families ain't the strongest, but if you have like a sit down conversation with them and you tell them like the way you trying to head, the goals you trying to achieve, I promise you it'll change. Because with me and my mom, we didn't always see eye to eye, but we started communicating. I would have sit down conversations with her all the time. I'm like, you saw the path I was on before, and I'm trying to go on another path. I'm trying to achieve something. I'm trying to change my life. I'm trying to achieve different goals and things like that. And she was like, okay, so what do you need from me? How can I help? And then we started moving. We started working. And then me and my friend group, we wasn't always the greatest of kids. We had our ups and downs. We had our arguments in class, outbursts in class where we did stupid stuff. We got a little suspension, got expelled. We got suspended from school a few times, but we was like, okay, we saw our error of our ways, but now we trying to go in a different way. So how are we gonna support each other to go in a way that is completely different than what we was doing? So if you want support, like for real, sit down with your friend groups and be like, I'm trying to move differently. So either you gonna help me move differently, or we can't be friends no more because I'm trying to go somewhere else.
I 100% agree. There's a quote I heard. I don't know if you heard it before, but it's like if you hang out with or you're friends with five drunkards, you're going to become a drunkard. So if you don't surround yourself with people who are trying to better themselves, become better than what they are, and not stay at the same place, you're going to stay at the same place with them. So again, I agree. You got to surround yourself with people of great mindsets. I know it's difficult because I've seen it's difficult. I'm trying to find people that are like him, like you, and like you who will take a second just to look at what they're doing, see if this is better. Like if they're trying to better themselves, if this is what they're doing, is this is good, and that's what I'm working on. Currently, I have maybe two friends that I know are looking in the future to see if what I'm doing right now is setting myself up for when maybe I have kids, maybe when I'm trying to find a wife or a girlfriend, somebody. So that's a big thing. Who you surround yourself with. I 100% agree. 1,000% agree.
I can definitely agree with that too because my friends like to say I got a friend for each personality.
Right.
So if I got that troublemaker friend, but I might not be joining in, but I got that friend that likes to try new stuff. And my tea, she love to try new food. She love to go on roller coasters. I'm not that type of person. Then I got a friend like if I need something, like I really need to sit down and talk to somebody, I can sit down and talk with her. If I'm having a rough time, I can be there for her. If I need a friend for laughs, I got a friend for that. So I think a friend group is important, but where I gotta disagree, I feel like you are your main resource. Like no doubt about it. I feel like some people are at a better place to take advantage of that resource, but I feel like at the end of the day, you will always be your biggest resource. You'll be your biggest supporter because one thing that a lot of adults tend to tell me is it doesn't matter whether I tell you this, it doesn't matter whether somebody else tells you this, because if you don't believe it, what's the point? If you can't believe in whatever is being said, if you don't believe in that for yourself, then no amount of validation is going to help that. And I feel like that is the same when it comes to mental health, because regardless of whether you got a hotline, regardless of whether you got a website, a therapist, a friend, a mom, a dad, a family member, anything like that, those are all really good resources. They're all very good options to help you out. But unless you help yourself, unless you take the initiative to help yourself, ain't nothing going to change.
Right. I agree. I mean, it's all starts with the acceptance of it. Like they're trying to help me. They want the best for me. So am I going to continue down this path, or am I going to want better?
And
You know?
understanding that it's okay. Like
Right.
it's nothing wrong with having any kind of mental issue just in general. Like it's not a sickness. Everybody says mental illness. It's not a sickness. You're not sick. You're literally just struggling. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to people our age, because we're like, oh my God, is something wrong with me? Oh my God, I can't fit in anymore. Because I feel like unless you are just one of those very rare few, everybody that comes out the womb, we're all trying to fit in somewhere, whether it's with a group of people, whether it's with a style, a trend, anything. So I feel like once you start getting labeled with depression, anxiety, it's good to be able to put a name to a face. But once you start labeling those things, and it's like, oh my gosh, I am no longer a part of this group. I'm no longer here. I'm no longer there. I am by myself, quite literally. And I think that's a scary thing to deal with. And especially like once you start going into therapy, you really feel like something wrong, because depending on whether you have a good therapist or not, and whether you have a good village, a good support system, it's just something else.
Uh, I totally get it. Because I can see both of what y'all are saying as far as leaning on the village and ultimately understanding that it is on you. It is one. It's one. I can't emphasize it enough that it is 100% on you. Um, and when I say it's 100% on you, I really mean, hey, people have poured into me since I was little. You know, I'm blessed to have the family that I had, very supportive family. But if we're being real about mental health, nobody was making a big deal about it. 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, like nobody was making a big deal about it. It's like, yo, take your stuff and go. Um, and everybody has to walk their own path. So much so to, your parents can love you as much as they want, and shout out to them, but it's still, you still have to leave that house, and you can't solely depend on mama and daddy's beliefs once you leave. You have to know for yourself. You have to be able to say, yo, am I doing this just because my aunt such and such said I should, or do I genuinely feel like I'm not following the path that I'm supposed to be on, the path I'm supposed to be on? Um, Real quick, I just want to say some things that I know just help. We work with Journeys. The Point works with Journeys, which is a mental health and a therapy place that sends out therapists to schools to talk to kids who are struggling. So shout out to them. I know we do at the Point. We practice peaceful circles, and I've done that more times than I can count. And to me, and that's basically me just taking anybody who has a problem or issue with each other, making them sit down at the table and practice healthy communication in which you let the person speak and you can't interrupt and everybody has to get everything out. And it amazes me to see how many people have never gotten past that point of being able to sit and speak. Journaling. I give everybody a journal, and I give them introspective topics to write about. One person that I like to look at, who's a world-renowned psychologist, is Dr. Jordan Peterson, and he has what you call the future authoring program, where you take three negative, like some three of your most negative life events, and you write about them in extreme detail. You take three of your most positive events, and you write them down in extreme detail. Things that you feel like molded you and made you to be who you are. Then you take everything you learn from that, and then you create the next 3 to 5 years of your life, taking everything the lessons that you've learned. um and the crazy thing is not the crazy thing is, but it's really about the questions that you ask yourself, um to simply put yourself in a position to say, yo, is the life I'm living conducive to the bigger picture of purpose for me? And as y'all are young folks and y'all are forging y'all's path, I can just say, and I was just telling my lady this before last night. I was like, yo, as a man, I'm looking at the whole picture for my family. I can't sleep good at night if I know that I'm not becoming the person who I need to be mentally, physically, and spiritually to set an example for my lady, to set an example for my sons, and to set an example for everybody that I come in contact with. So if Mr. Gray come to school and say, hey man, tighten up XYZ, you can't look at Mr. Gray and say, but you don't do that. Because I gotta practice what I preach. And that's a heavy crown sometimes, because it's like you can't give yourself the leeway, because you are the person. You are in that driver's seat. You and your trusted source, you and your family, you and the people that you depend on. And for those who might want to talk to their village, the reality is the village might not be in the place to listen. You know, shout out to those who shout out to the parents who really support their kids and listen and talk to their kids and provide that space. Because I see a lot of kids who just don't know how to communicate with anybody, because all they've ever known was yelling and rulership by force. And kids need nurturing, um, because hard times are coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, I say just stop stressing about it being easy. Jordan Peterson said also, bro, find something hard and stick to it. You'll be proud of who you become in the end of it. And anything that's difficult, anything worth having is worth investing real time into. That's why seeing y'all build this stuff from the ground is just so amazing to me. Um, it's putting a smile, on my heart, because it's like, man, like I have something to believe in when I see y'all. Um, and also I brought up the fact that the hard times are coming because I heard this quote today and I really want to use it. But
Go ahead.
it said, it was a TED talk, and this young lady said, she was like, thinking that your life should be easy is crazy. it might not feel crazy because maybe from a kid, you could turn on Teletubbies or whatever show you like to watch, just like that. Everything is
Wait,
king.
1 second. Did y'all catch how he said Teletubbies? That's like
Did y'all watch Teletubbies?
No, look, show his
sorry,
age. I'm
man.
just saying. I just like a little show of your age. You ain't never watched Teletubbies. Go ahead.
See,
No,
it
I've
happened,
never
bro.
watched
I
Teletubbies.
thought they
You haven't
watched
seen
Teletubbies.
Now, Teletubbies, that was one of the creepiest shows that I have ever seen.
I just be seeing kids talk about it.
You gotta look at the faces, like the face, like why
It's wild.
All right, but yeah, go ahead.
Wow,
Go ahead.
no
I'm sorry.
doubt,
I'm
no
sorry.
doubt. No, you're good.
Go
You're
ahead, go ahead.
good. But the fact that we've been so used to instant gratification and can numb ourselves with phones, the time we apply for that job and we get denied, and it's like, I guess I'm not supposed to. No, you're supposed to keep going for it. You might apply for that school, you might not get accepted. You might try to do a podcast and things might not come out great at first, but anything worth working for is worthwhile. And what the quote the lady said was, yo, complaining about hard times and things being difficult is like a tree holding an umbrella over itself when it rains and getting mad that it's not growing. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So
deep.
in that aspect, whenever I feel anxiety, nerves, or challenges, I just know there's just I know how to manage my energy to the point to where it's like, hey, bro, if you feeling sedentary, go run, go lift something. If you feel like you scrolling on social media and you mad about what everybody's posting, what everybody's saying, go make a plan and do something about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like y'all, when I started seeing social media, I'm like, yo, why is everybody complaining? Why is everybody talking about how much they hate the opposite sex? And why is everybody saying all these things? Like, don't they know, like, that's only, they got the platform. And don't they know that's only going to invite more of that same kind of energy to them? It's like, to me, it felt crazy, but it's like, I could either be mad at them or I could understand, hey, the world is the way it is. And it's supposed to be that way. I find my purpose by looking at the problems in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, create something that they can use. So you don't have to chase everybody down. You can just invest, produce, and let your passion and your purpose do what it's supposed to do. You know, and then mental health is taken care of in the long run.
All right, so let me ask y'all a question, okay? It's a little off script, but have y'all ever? Because we're all in the classrooms, so and you are a mental health teacher and all of that stuff, and you're also in the schools. So when you see kids and you know they about to do something completely off the walls and crazy, have you ever seen them look at each other for confirmation before they just do it?
yeah.
Because one of the things I see when I mentor is when I'm mentoring, I'm up there talking, speaking, and then one of them about to say something crazy while I'm speaking and throw me off track. But one of the things I see is that they'll look at their group for like 5 seconds before they do it, and then they'll just act. So, what do y'all think is like the root of that, like looking at each other before action?
Well, I think personally, I think it's like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I need validation. Because if y'all don't agree with me, why am I doing it? I'm the only one who's doing this. Like, they think they gotta fit in, and that like an outburst or something, that's not really a good thing to do, ever. So I've seen, like, if I've tried to, I maybe once or twice, like,
Nah, be real, be, be real. You know it ain't no once
like,
or twice.
I'll do something like at the next, like, I don't remember what I did or what it was about. I was in class and I was looking at my friends like, okay, should I do this? Would it be cool if I do this? Like, I'm looking at them like,
Right.
so it's that validation. If they need it, if they don't need it, like, should I do it? You know, that's what I think.
I honestly don't think that just applies to the classroom. I think that can apply to anything. That can apply to a fight. That can apply
Right.
to getting up on stage to do something, because it's like you said, validation. Why am I going to get up here and do this thing and I don't have nobody to back me up? Whether it's good or bad, to know that you got somebody in your corner, even if they're not going to be there when you get in trouble.
Right.
Just want to put that out there, because half the people you be looking at do not be there when you get in trouble. But to just know that it's like, okay, if I do this, they're gonna laugh. Like, I'm gonna get some kind of reaction, and it's gonna be a reaction that gives me some kind of good feedback, or at least good in my eyes in that moment.
I can say I've definitely noticed it, and I feel like I can sense it, like, because I last year I was in all the lunch periods, and I understand what groups of kids bring what kind of energy, and so there would just be days where I just be like, man, something going on. Then I'll look over to the right, like I said, because energy does not lie and it speaks very loudly sometimes. But I look over and I see a group of kids looking at me, and I just roll my eyes. 'Cause I'm like, I already know, I already know they doing something. Like I already know they planning something, and it's not to target people. Even though the kids who do get in trouble most of the time say, "I feel like y'all are targeting me," but I think half of the time is because they know what type of time they're on, and me being in my position, it's like, okay, I've seen everybody's extreme in this room or wherever I'm at. And when certain types of groups get together, they feed each other. It's like who's going to go one step too far before they kick somebody or throw something. And I try to catch it before it happens. It does get draining trying to read minds,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things where it's like it is a validation thing. It is a well, or sometimes it's a pride thing too. I've seen kids get into it, having verbal discussions, and I might say something to you, and if that group over there laughs, oh, your ego is all tore up. So now it's like, oh, I gotta do something now, and they move based off of fear of their ego being dissipated, more so than because they really wanted to. You know what I'm saying? It's like a snowball effect almost.
Definitely. I 100% agree. So, because of time, we going to get one more question in here. So, we going to ask this really good one. Can you share a personal story or experience that illustrates the importance of addressing mental health in youth and adults, just addressing mental health in general, and what lessons can be learned from them?
Uh,
You want,
uh,
you want to go first?
yeah,
I'll
I'll
go ahead.
start. I'll start this one,
All
and
right, go ahead.
I'm gonna be done after this one. Because in my opinion, I really like
No, it's no opinion. What story?
what story.
What has
I
happened in
look,
your life?
okay.
That's a
I
story.
I like my mom would try to bring me to therapy and stuff because early on, I think I was like 7. No, it's been a long time. Like throughout my life, my mom, and my dad, they ain't been that cool, and they ended up getting divorced. And my mom tried to bring me to therapy for it, but I'm thinking I'm cool, but I wasn't cool. And like one time, my it was my grandfather's birthday, and she was just like, "Happy birthday, Dad!" And I started crying because my dad wasn't there over there with me, and that's when it hit me. This matters. Like I guess it didn't like sound like that at the time because I think I was like, well, I think I was just like 10, but like now I'm looking back, I'm seeing this like the mental health matters. Like what I'm doing, it matters. Like I should open up about these things because talking about it, writing it down, whatever, it starts to help sooner or later. Like you're gonna see, you aren't gonna have all those bottled up feelings, and it's not gonna just come out at some random time because of something you didn't expect. And that's just what it was for me. It was just my parents getting divorced. That's all it was.
That's deep. I think that's a universal thing. I think parents divorcing or any kind of parental situation happening has a massive drain on kids. I think that's what happens to me or happened to me a lot. I've come to terms with it, and I think one of this was one of the best things to do because one of the things that you have to realize is that you can't control everything. Some of the things is just out of your hands, and you got to learn to come to terms with it and accept it, or to be sad about it and mope around the house all day. So for me, I came to terms with it, and I'm like, they ain't getting back together. I might not be able to see my dad all the time, but at least I have my mom. And I came to terms with it. I wasn't happy. It did make me act up at school a few times, which did end up leading to me being expelled from school. But that's a completely another story. But it's a situation that you have to come to terms with. And a parent or parental situations are definitely something that a lot of kids face and is an extremely important factor in a lot of kids' life.
I'll say I am definitely my own story because I think growing up, I've always been really happy. I've always been really smiley, very talkative. You cannot get me to stop talking, but I've always had like this thing to where my confidence, like I said earlier, it was really low. I needed a lot of validation. I'll say like my outfit, how I did my hair, what I did to my nails, am I putting on makeup, and going through high school especially. Oh my gosh, that was like the hardest time for me, especially starting in 10th grade, that was technically my first year of high school because that was when we first started going in back in person.
Right.
And to see all these girls, like, you got girls getting dress coded because of their body shape, and you got others who's not getting dress coded. And it's like, well, maybe if I put this on, I'll fit in with those girls. But if I put this on, I'm not going to fit in with those girls. Then you got things, well, maybe I might get this male validation because I'm a teenage girl. You got guys, everybody thinks everybody's attractive. But, to a certain extent, it's like, this isn't about how this person feels. This is really just about me. And I think going through high school, everybody's like, oh my gosh, Kareiah, you're so confident. Oh my gosh, Kareiah, you look so nice. Oh, you always come in just looking put together. But I think once I got home and then I took off my nice clothes, I took off my shoes and all my jewelry and all that, it was like, I'm a girl in a bonnet and some shorts and a t-shirt. All of that was, even though it's part of me because I love to dress up, it was just really coming to terms with the fact, like, I don't have to do that for nobody else. I don't have to do that to get people to like me, whether it's friends or anybody else. Like, I can do that for me and that be okay. You know what I'm saying?
I like that perspective though, because that's a perspective that a group of guys wouldn't have had. Your perspective was 100% different. Because I can say personally, I wouldn't have had that perspective seeking male attention. Hey, not hate on anybody,
Pause.
but that's just something I wouldn't have done. So to have that perspective in the conversation, I think it opens up a door to another conversation that is even more important. So I appreciate you for even being on the podcast and bringing that topic to discussion.
100%. Um, I've definitely can resonate with what everybody said. My parents divorced when I was 20. My dad told me right before I went to the Marine Corps, he's like, "Yo, when you come back, I'm gonna be gone." I was like, I mean, of course, he was a little more tender, but he was like, that's how it was.
Hey, right.
I mean, here's the thing, I wasn't oblivious to it because I was 20 years old at that time. I had my own situation going on and kind of understood, people grow apart. But and I just like, I'm like, it's all good, man, it happens. But not until I'm with my fiance now, and we were talking about it, and I was like, I don't think I was mad at my parents for doing that. But then I thought back and I'm like, I had to, what I was dealing with and what I didn't take account for was like, now I'm coming home. Holidays ain't the same no more. Everybody not in the same house. Mom's sad. I come home, mom might be crying on the floor. Dad might be in the house somewhere else. And I ended up not talking to my dad for like 6 months. And I thought it was just cause I just didn't feel like it. But there's anger in that. You know what I'm saying? When you don't talk to the person who birthed you or who helped bring you into this world. And I had to sit with that. But that wasn't until I was like 27, 28. And I would say just my mental health story as far as just me taking ownership over it for real. And this is a part of my book that's going to be coming out pretty soon. But I went to college when I was 25 for the second time. And I lived the life that you believe a college man should live. Partied, pledged to frat, had access to anything and anybody I really, really wanted in that aspect. And I remember being at a party and feeling like I was getting ready to end the night the way I usually would, in a more adult fashion. And I was just saying to myself, I had a conversation with myself in my head, bro, like I'm running, like I knew I was running from something. It was like I knew that, over my last couple years in college, I put on like 40 pounds. I was eating crazy. I was drinking all the time just every weekend to the point. I'm like, bro, if I keep living like this, bro, like the math is not going to math the way I want it to. And I had to put a hard stop to everything that I was doing in that moment and go back to the drawing board and clean the slate. Because, going off of old beliefs and having misunderstandings festering around in your soul and in your chest, you're not going to have no peace moving forward. So whatever you got sitting down that is stopping you from being your best you, like I said, look at it. Don't run from it. Look it dead in the face, because if you don't, it will grow legs and start to walk on its own. And but I'm glad I stopped myself from going down that path and, lost 50, 60 pounds later, and life changed. My life before and after is completely different, night and day almost. So yeah,
I would have never knew you was gain 40, 60 pounds.
Oh, I was big, man.
I didn't know if I need to raise my hand, but I've got to ask just because you're guys, I'm a girl. I understand we talking about parents. You know, my parents not together. I've got my stepdad, but one T, he's the best dad I could ever ask for. Shout out to him. He's in the room.
All right, give him a shout out too.
But as a girl, I've always been very emotional, and I think that's just also something that I inherited from my family. So as a guy, did you not? I guess I want to say be open with that, or was it because was it because you're a guy? Like, is it the pride thing? Because some people like to talk about it. Guys are prideful. They don't want to seem
Weak.
weak. They don't
Right.
want to seem like they're just not a man, as some people like to say. So
I'll go first.
Anybody.
I think as men, you are inherently not as emotional as women.
Mhm.
So already biologically, we're not as emotional. But one of the things that is misconception is that we deal with emotions. Just because we're not as emotional does not mean we do not deal with them at all. So we deal with our emotions differently. And then going through birth and as our childhood, a lot of men are raised on be tough, shut up and take it like a man. You got this. You're good. You don't need to let out. You don't need to cry. You good. All of that. So we're already raised on that. So when you think of that and how most men are raised, when you're like 18, 17, even 30, you're like, well, I've been raised. I can handle it. I don't need no help. I can suck it up like a man and I'm good. So when you think about it like that, it's like, I'm good. I don't need help. So when you're in a situation where it's time to be emotional as a man, most of the time when you ask a man how is he doing, he may be struggling. Like you can see it in his face that he is struggling. But he'll sit there in your face and say, I'm good or I'm fine.
Mhm.
But deep down, he is struggling and he is dealing with some of the hardest things you can ever imagine in life. So I will say that men, we 100% deal with our emotions and we are 100% emotional. But it takes right situations and it takes a lot of inner work and a lot of support for us to get out of that rock hard state where we have to be hard 24 times. Like we're good. We have to understand like we can express our emotions. We can talk about what we go through. And sometimes, one of the things I also heard, I'm sorry to keep rambling on, but it was this one dude, one pastor I was listening to, and he was like, when you get a man to be emotional, don't take that for granted because you don't know if you're his first time being emotional. And a lot of times when you let a man get emotional, he tells you everything that he's feeling, everything that's going on in his head. He's vulnerable with you, right? And then sometimes people will throw that in his face. Like I'll tell you, I'm dealing with depression, and then we get a heated argument back and forward, and you'll be like, "That's why you dealing with depression," and then he'll never open up again. He won't tell you anything because you just was his first person being vulnerable with, and you threw it completely in his face.
Oh yeah.
So I would
Yeah.
say that's my response.
And to kind of piggyback on what he was saying, men men and women both deal with the same amount of emotions. It's just that women are more outwardly expressive and men are emotionally repressive. And that is from conditioning, saying that you got to be this way. Like you don't have the space to cry or whatever the case may be. But in the grander aspect of it, it's if I've built myself up to, and a lot of that is ego. A lot of that is I can't let nobody know how I really feel, because I don't want to admit that I'm struggling. But like we talked about earlier, you cannot grow if you don't admit that you have an issue. And how long do so many men live on that shield for so long? Because they feel like, first of all, it's their pride that's playing a role in it. And if you look at the emotional frequency chart, pride is, in a sense, it's destructive energy, and the emotions below pride are guilt, shame, apathy, and grief and fear. Those are the emotions that are beneath pride. So what happens when you take that? You know how they say pride come right before the fall? When you take that pride out and you only got those emotions to rely on, like the, everything comes crumbling down and you feel exposed because you haven't given yourself the room to address and express. But my lady will tell you, I cry a lot, but I don't cry because I'm sad. I cry because this life thing is so doggone beautiful, bro. to believe bad things about yourself and then to prove that those bad things aren't real,
Well, that's something else.
those bad things were never real to begin with. Like I said, that's why I go back and I'm so thankful for my mind that it's like, yo, I could still be thinking this way, and I'm looking at people who are still thinking that way.
Right.
But it's knowing that, hey, yo, my tears doesn't make me less of a man, because I still come in here and I hold the house down. I still come in here and I'm standing on every principle, but I'm a human, bro. Humans are supposed to feel, and I want more men. Speaking of, with it being mental health month, I ask a lot of the male staff, yo, why do y'all have issues? Like, what problems do y'all have communicating? Do you have issues communicating? He's like, I feel like I can't communicate because somebody's going to use it against me. And I had one guy be brutally honest. It is pride. And I know his backstory. And I said, bro, said, your pops got killed when you was younger. Your mama had to yell at you to tell you everything to do. Teachers yelled at you all your life. You got in trouble with the law at one point in time. You were being told what to do by the law, by your mother, by everybody in the world. And you settle down with a young lady, knowing that you need to grow. You know that you need to grow. And the fact that her presence makes you aware of the fact that you need to grow creates this situation where now when she's poking at you to step up and do better, now you feel like that little kid again who was getting told what to do by his mama and by everybody else, by the law and by the job and by all these things. So you said something so perfect. Knowing yourself, knowing that, bro, however this falls, I am a man, I'm a vessel, I am a child of God. I am going to continue to bring path and purpose to this world. And what I tell other people, bro, you can't go back and change time, but what you can do is live in a way where you bring justice to all your struggles.
That's right.
When I look at my parents splitting, I say, all right, let me learn from that. My kids won't deal with that. You know, when I look at certain health issues that certain family members have, we won't deal with that. I will do everything possible that I can. And how can you not feel good when you know you're changing like that? You know what I'm saying? So, but so many men have not allowed themselves the grace and the room to understand, to realize, to admit what they didn't have, and to say, yo, that really made me feel bad. You know what I'm saying? And know that, yo, your feelings not going to stop you. But nevertheless, it's extremely important. More men should talk and create safe spaces, because, you know, we need each other. Men and women need each other. We keep this, you know what I'm saying? We keep this thing going around as far as the human species is concerned. And if we can't learn how to communicate effectively, man, and, you know, downhill we go.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, that's I'm grateful to, I can't even put it into words. I'm grateful for this conversation. I'm grateful for every single one of you guys who hopped on this podcast on the first episode. So you guys truly believed in the vision that I have said, that I've preached to you, and you guys were ready to take action. And I'm 100% grateful. I'm grateful for my team who are behind the scenes, who are helping manage the stream. I'm grateful for my parents and my village, especially Miss Jeanette. God bless her heart.
Give her her shout out.
Give her her shout out, but she is a handful at times. That's all. Thank you, GSO Peace Corps, again for providing the studio, the platform, and everything just to record this podcast, because I truly believe this will change lives, and I think everyone who is here in attendance believes so as well. So I want to thank you all again for being a part of this conversation. You guys have provided amazing insights, and I hope that you take away something that is going to make you think more, and also that's something that's going to carry you forward and make you think more, help you push forward into this journey of helping young people grow. And everyone in the audience, I want to thank you for joining the podcast, watching it. We can't wait to make sure we're not waiting next time. But again, I want to thank you all. Oh, next week we're gonna be on time, 7:00 next week. We're not gonna be late this time, hopefully. So we're gonna thank you all, and again, thank you guys for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.